Hello, today we're looking at cages for the Sony FX3. Okay, cages for the Sony FX3. Why cages when people were talking about this being a cageless camera? Well, I'm not sure who started that rumour it was a cageless camera. Yes, straight out of the box it can be cageless, because you just literally have a very minimalist setup. I have a NATO rail on the top here, and you can access the grips and so on. But a wee shout out to James Matthews, who came up with this idea, putting on a NATO rail on them thread holes and then having an L bracket and attach a wee low profile NATO rail with some thread holes and a hot shoe on top of that wee L bracket. And then you've got two handles, the one on the camera and this grip. He just took a large L bracket, as I said, with a NATO rail clamp on the end of it. It's got thread holes as well for mounting things on. And obviously that was a bit tall, and when you're trying to set things in the flush on the table, it was all like a bit wonky. So he sawed off the bottom of it so it would be flush and replace the plastic cap, and I just did the same. So thank you, James, for showing everybody how to do that. Very, very helpful. But if you want to rig this out more, I think this is where some of the confusion online was happening. People wanted to mount batteries or monitors and they needed a bigger kit. And I think the confusion point for me even was, why just the single thread holes when it came to the sides of this? There's only one on each side and then one on the bottom. And I think, if I'm judging this right, that what they were thinking was they wanted this to be like a B-roll camera on their line of cinemas cameras by Sony. And so yes, you could build a cage onto it, and if you wanted to rig that out and make this more your A camera, hence the 3 mounting points. It's just about slotting into a cage and locking it in. And so at that stage you can adapt all the handles and accessories you want to it. But a lot of people just wanted it as a very simple run and gun B-roll camera. So it depends on what you're using it for, your use case scenario. And then the other thing is just aesthetics when it comes to these bigger cages, what you prefer as well. So I think that's what's going on with that, and just having the single one. Yes, it would have been nice, as people have said, to have nice wee area locating pins to stop anything if you wanted to attach straight onto it. That would have been a good option there, to actually have that on the body, and that would stop anything swiveling. Obviously if it's just a single hole, everything's going to swivel and it won't work. But I think they were just thinking, put the single holes on the sides and the bottom and mount the cage on. Hence you have these companies that have come up with these solutions for us. So I'm going to cut to some B-roll and show you how to build out these cameras, what they look like, and give you some thoughts at the end. And what I have with me is the Kondor Blue, the Tilta 8.5 cage by SmallRig, and right at the top here we have a wee, what they call a half cage for our NiceyRig have. Not quite a half cage. Judge it for yourself. And a couple of handles and stuff to mount it, a bunch there I can mount to this. So we'll go to the B-roll and I'll build out these cages and let you see them. Let's do that.
Okay, let's see what came in the box. It's all very well wrapped and protected. 3 main things are in the box. You've got your half cage, your NATO top rail, and your Allen key wrench. The nice thing about that NATO top rail is them screws stay attached, and they've got threads in the NATO rail, so you'd have to actually screw it out if you want it, so it keeps them connected to it. Some other brands sent them and they didn't. They came apart. So let's have a closer look at that. When you zoom in to the bottom right, you can see your 2 1/4 inch and your 3 8/8 inch ones. Some the 1/4 inch has got area locating pins, and you also have a NATO rail down at the bottom, so you can connect a NATO handle or something on the side. The top is your rod mount, which is nice, and a cold shoe. And along there, it's all very nice. And on the very front, you can see a little 1/4 inch screw or H-screw, and it's for that HDMI, which came with the Cage, which is great. Some of them don't send them with them, you have to buy them additionally. Yep, you can flip the monitor display open, no problem, and when you turn the camera around you can see that in part, but you're not worrying about that because when you've got handle stuff on, that's not what that's going to be being used for at that stage. You'll be mounting monitors and so on. Let's look at the doors and the port doors. You can open them up, but there's no blockage whatsoever, so that is fantastic. So no problem or issues there. When you're attaching a handle with a NATO rail clamp, you need to pay attention to where the actual clamp, what side. Make sure you rotate it round to the front. If you have it at the back, like in this case scenario, sometimes the doors can hit them clamps. So I'll put another handle on here and let you see what I mean by that. So here's a big thumb screw that sticks out, and you see the door doesn't fully open. You can still get in there, but it's best not risk banging them doors against all that metal there. So just take out the screws at the side of the handle, flip it over, and as you can see, the door can open up no problem, and just lock it in that way. Regarding the HDMI ports, make sure you have a good flexible cable that can handle 4K, so they can bend around and get up into your monitors and so on. Nothing too rigid there. Let's move to the top and bottom of the cage and have a view. So the NATO rail is grand, covers the hot shoe. You have access to all them buttons, and that's great. If you want to put your own handle and stuff on, you can do, or you can swap it out and put on the XLR audio. Now, regarding the bottom of the cage, it comes designed for an Arca Swiss, but it does give you screw points that you can attach your own types of plates, your Manfrotto 501s and so on. Comes with a wee hex tool there for unloosening that screw and magnetizes in, fantastic. And you have the battery port opens, no problem, no blockage. So solid, really good design. Let's just have our last wee look from the different angles again. Front looking good, side grip handle access, lovely. And the back, all the ports, no problem connecting and getting things in there. Nicely done. Let's move to me now building this cage. Okay, let's take our items out of the box here, and you'll see what comes in the box. You mainly have your L bracket, your wee HDMI clamp, your NATO rail, and just your wee screws and a wee plastic grommet for the rod mount as well, and your Allen key wrench. So it's got wee rubber mounts at the bottom, so the camera doesn't slide, and at the very base of it you can see you've got your wee Arca Swiss rail, you've got your wee thread points if you want to change that to something else like a 501 plate. You've got your wee magnetized hex tool. Okay, let's mount it on. Just slide the camera in from the back, and you're going to screw into that top corner, that 1/4 inch thread hole, and then into the bottom. Just 2 points of connection, and that should make it nice and secure. So slide that in, get the wee screw that came with it, drop it into the top corner, get your Allen key wrench, and well, not your Allen key wrench, your wee thumb screw that was attached to the bottom of the cage. And I would just keep that a wee bit loose at the start, not fully tighten it, just until you get the lined up at the bottom as well. And once you're happy with that, just flip it over, line up the screw with the bottom of the camera. If you can get it thumb tightened first and then use the wee flat screw, that's great, and tighten her in. Once that's secure, back to the other one, just double check. You tighten them now so they're both solid. Okay, that's great. Access the grip, fantastic, really like that. I hardly know there was a cage on this here. So just remind you, before we put on this NATO rail, you don't have to put it on. If you just want to use the top handle that came with the camera, with the X, using that hot shoe to connect on, and then there's 2 wee screw points, you can put that on and just thumb tighten them in, and hence you've got your XLRs going straight into the hot shoe. So that's fantastic. So that's what's good about this here, that kind of modular nature, where you can take that hot shoe, plug it in, and the audio goes down through that. Okay, you can just take off the handle again, and let's attach the NATO rail. So all you'll need is a wee Allen key wrench. No, yes, the wee Allen key wrench, just to screw them in. And now you can just put on your top handle or a monitor, whatever you wish on the top. Nice thing about this wee NATO rail, it has a wee safety pin so it doesn't slide off there at the end. You have to actually push that down, so there's no chance of that handle coming off. Okay, you just screw that onto the front, very simply. And then you can use the wee lever at the top just to widen open the wee clamps. That way you can open the door, insert your HDMI cable, and then you can pull it tight once the HDMI cable's in, and that'll hold your cable and protect your port. Easily done. Okay, don't forget to attach your wee hex screw at the bottom. All the ports are accessible, the battery door, the card slot, no problem there as well, because there's nothing on that side at all, so that grip feels great. And then all the ports are all accessible on the other side for power, for headphones and so on. One other nice thing about this NATO reel, it has airy locating pins, so if you have a top handle with a bolt and airy locating pins, you can just screw that in and that'll stop that from swiveling. And the last handle I showed you, it was more of a rubber one, where this one here is metal, but it has a lot more, obviously just gives me more mounting options. You can see I've got more cold shoes on this particular handle. It has different 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch mounting points. It has cold shoes on the front, has a couple on the back and another mounting point. So also there's a rod mount on the front of it as well, which is great. So these cages you can build, you can be very creative with them. Different companies do different handles. A lot of these are using standard stuff like airy mounts and 1/4 inch and NATO rails and rosettas, so you can just mix and match as you will. Okay, let's move on to the Tilta Cage. Another nice offering here by Tilta. All the parts that came in it obviously had packaging and stuff, which I've removed from that picture so you can see what's in it, but these are all the different modular parts that come with the camera. It's the only cage that comes with a sort of hand strap on the side just for extra security if you want it, just to keep a firm grip on the right hand side. And then you get your sort of 3 parts with it. In this case you'll see the wee top bit, the main cage, and then on you see in this picture you see the wee base plate. So you can obviously, with the bottom, you can swap out what kind of base plate you want, whatever ecosystem you're in, whether you want a Arca Swiss, whether you want a 501 for like a Manfrotto or and so on. There's ways of attaching that to the bottom. Came again with a HDMI wee clamp there with a wee guiding hole it goes into. That was excellent, glad that came with it. And there's where you can detach it from the bottom if you just want a half cage. Take them 2 small screws out and left, and then you have a half cage there, and you've access to the battery with the full cage. And again, obviously if it's off you won't have a problem there also. I removed the strap here just so that you see all the different thread holes, and the straps, you can see the 2 wee strap slits at the top and bottom as well. And then that top wee bit is for the screw mounting if you're putting it in the full cage on the other side. So the trick with that strap for me was actually getting it back on again. It took me a while to work out how to do it, about 20 minutes until I got the right tool, and then once I had the right tool for the job, I got it on in about a minute or so. But I was trying to fit it in with a knife and things like that. So I got the iFixit tool. It's a wee pair of pinchers that come in that there, and it lets you just feed the leather strap back into it. So you can either just take it off from the bottom of the screws, or if you actually just want to keep that side handle on to mount your own handles but you don't want the strap, then you're going to need the right tool if you want to fit that again later. So this is the wee pinchers that came in the iFixit, and that'll feed it through them wee metal slits at the top. Just a wee top tip there, because it took me a good while to try and work out how to do that. Now, so there's your full cage, there's your top NATO rail, there's your strap back on, and the camera just slots in. Lovely fit, nice machining doing there. All the port doors stay open fine, nothing blocking, and you can still attach handles and so on to the side. As you see it from the top, there's the wee NATO rail on the top, and there's your full cage without the wee bottom base plate. So I attached the wee NATO rail handle to the side there. Wee top tip again is if you're going to do that, make sure you swap the lock over to the far side again so that it doesn't block the doors. So in this case you see here I just flipped it over, and that hence it wouldn't block that door to get at the ports if I wanted to power from USB-C or access any of that stuff. Again, use a good flexible HDMI cable if you want to be able to bend that round and feed that in. Getting a look at it from different angles, put a wee top handle on there, slide it onto the NATO rail, and then I just swapped out the handles to let you see. Now you see again the thumb screw is at the front, so it's not blocking the doors when you see it on the other side, so there's easy access again to them ports. So here's it just with an L bracket side handle again, just slid on to the top NATO rail, and then I attached another NATO rail on top of that with a handle. Comes with your base plates, decide what you want to put on that works for your system, whether you're using 501 plates, Arca Swiss, just attach them to the screw mounts at the bottom. And that's it, that's the Tilta Cage. Here's it with different handles, different grips, giving you different perspectives on it, with and without the XLR audio handle, and then just picking the right handles, whether it's just the bolt screws that go in, whether you want a NATO rail. It's got all them abilities just to be that flexible. So really good offering again by Tilta. Really find that cage excellent. Now to Kondor Blue, let's have a look at it. It's a new one to me. I enjoyed getting this here and seeing it. I like the aesthetics of it. I like the space grey metal. The HDMI cable clamps excellent, attaches really well and firm, and I like that because some of the ones I found putting on were a bit foodery. And again, it came modular, just like the Tilta. It came with this top NATO rail, and it just slots straight on there, and then you can attach or swap off and on your XLR audio handle, depending on what way you want to configure your own system. Very clean, very nice, very sturdy, even though it's lots of modular parts to it. Once it's all attached, there's nothing shaking or rickety or any of that kind of thing. Got your Arca Swiss bottom, your screw points, access to your battery plate, all that very clean, very well done. And again, there's that HDMI port, which I like. I like that wee clamp. It was nicely designed. You screwed it onto the front and then you just tighten it up. All the ports are all accessible. You can open and spin the monitor display, no problems there. And then you've got on the other side, which it can attach, is the actual other plate, which you can attach handles to and so on. And just showing you again there, yep, battery doors open, no problems, not blocking anything. Okay, you can see all the component parts here as we start to build this cage out, so you can see how it comes together. There's your two side plates, your bottom plate, your top NATO rail, and your HDMI clamp. I'm first taking the side parts. It's just got two small screws down at the bottom. So once you screw them in, the top part of that will obviously mount into the singular screw on the side of the Sony FX3. So just finish tightening that off there. You can just see that's the half cage part of it. It's just the L bracket. So we take the camera, we'll line up the bottom, slide it in from the back there, and you'll see that top corner screw. That's going to go in there and mount it. So the bottom screw and the top one there. So we'll just fit it a wee bit snugger, and then just get that screw and tighten her back in. So here we go. Slot that in. Just thumb tighten it first, then get your Allen key wrench. Really straightforward. Tighten that. As you can see, it looks great. That's your half cage. You just got all your grip free still on the other side. So there's the two screws down at the bottom and your main screw at the top. So that's your wee second plate that goes on the far side to complete the 3/4 of the cage. So just line up them screw points and I'll just screw that in quickly for you. Okay, that's it tightened in now, all good. Let's just check everything's firm. Open up the card slot door. Yep, no problem, no blockage there. Flip it over, double check. Yep, battery door's fine. Your Arca Swiss, your mounting points again, just to remind you. And then the ports on the other side for HDMI ports. And then we NATO rail. You've also got area locating pins down at the bottom here, and different mounting points along the side there. As I said, you can open up all them doors, no problem, no blockage. Very clean. Okay, we just need to attach the HDMI clamp now. What's nice about this is just thumb tighten screws for attaching it to the front, and when you're tightening in the HDMI clamp. So just a wee thumb screw there, another wee thumb screw at the bottom. Really simple, really easy. Probably one of the easiest ones I've found so far. Excellent. Okay, just before we put it on the top NATO rail, I'm just going to attach the audio XLR handle again. Again, it just connects in with the hot shoe there. Very simply, just slides in and you just thumb tighten it down, and thumb tighten is normally enough. And that fits nice and snug. Cage is great. Lovely. Okay, let's take that off and put on our NATO rail. Okay, just slide that off again after you've loosened the screws. Let's take our NATO rail. So let's just attach this handle quickly. And now that's attached, I'll take the handle I also bought from Kondor Blue, which is great. It's got a wee trigger switch on the top, it's got cold shoes at the back and front, we area locating pins if you want to mount monitors that way, and then lots and lots of different mounting points. As I said, there's the wee trigger button at the top there. So the good thing about this wee NiceyRig reel again is it has a wee safety pin, so it just can't slide off easily. You have to push that down to get it on and push it down to get it off. So if you have a monitor or anything and you're worried about it just slipping off or something coming loose, that should catch it and protect it, which is excellent. So now that's tightened in. You can see the whole cage. Lovely setup, very happy with it. And they come with 3 different trigger cables for Sony, Canon, etc. I'm just getting my Sony one here, attach it into the port side. And then take the other wee jack end and just put that into where the trigger switch is. So that's a lovely feature to have, very handy. Okay, let's just take our final look from all the different sides. Let's look at this detachable side plate. It's got plenty of thread holes and it's also a NiceyRig reel in itself. Nice thing with the top, it has a lovely wee bubble leveler, so if you're on a tripod you want to make sure you're level. That's just a handy wee feature to have. But again, all this separates if you just want to go down to a half cage. Okay, here's a couple of different configurations. I've just took an L bracket side handle with the clamp, put it along the top NiceyRig reel, and then obviously another side handle that clamps on the bottom part as well. So it's up to yourself. You can create your own rig any way you want. So as you probably notice, the most flexible part is this wee side plate that just comes on and off. So if you want a half cage just like this and just have your top NiceyRig reel, you have that there. So keep that handy. If you want the full cage, you want more mounts and different handles on the sides. Otherwise, you can just grab the grip, access all the controls, and it's lovely as a half cage as well as a full or 3/4 cage. Excellent job by Kondor Blue, very happy with it. So let's just have our final look at it again with the XLR handle on top. Okay, now let's look at the 8-sync. I've got to say I like this here a lot, maybe because it was one of the last ones that I was just testing and trying on the camera. It just seemed the easiest to slip on really. Obviously the other ones were a lot more modular and the parts came away, so the side plates and stuff came away, which is great. But in this one it was just one piece and you just soldered it on, and I'll show you how that all fits together in a minute. But the amount of screw and thread holes in this here allowing you to attach area mounts, there's guiding area pins, Rosetta mount options. Accent just seemed to be very full, but at the same time when it was on it didn't feel very bulky, but it felt incredibly sturdy, so I was impressed with this. Just again, as I said, it was simple to put on, 2 bolts, it was in the cage, wasn't overbearing, and it was all just machined very well and fitted in really good. Even this side handle here doesn't really annoy you when you're holding the grip of the FX3. And then when you slide it in from the other side, all the ports totally accessible, no problem there. And again, lots and lots of thread holes for mounting all sorts of things from NiceyRig rails for different handles. None of the port doors are blocked. Excellent. So first time with the 8-sync, very, very pleased with that. So let's just see it with different handles. I put 2 wee bolt ones on there. No problem there blocking any of the doors at all. So all the wee ports are accessible. And the issue for me then is just the distance between most of the thread holes is about 9mm. I'm not sure if it's a standard size between some of these bolt options. In this case here, the SmallRig one bends back, but because the thread holes are so far forward on the cage there, the door's still open, so it didn't matter which way I attached that handle, whether the wee bar pointing back was in the way or not. It didn't block the ports. Again, here I just attached the wee NiceyRig reel just to try that for an option. Just screwed in the 2 bolts for that, attached the wee area handle on the top. Again, all the doors could open, accessible. So excellent design, very simple, very sturdy, and the NiceyRig reel handle goes on great. The wee clamp just goes on there, and the cage is so far forward in its design it doesn't I don't even have to swap the hook around the other side. The doors are totally accessible. Same with the top, the screw on points and the hot shoe all accessible, not blocked because the cage is so far forward. So as a one piece kit, it's great and everything fits on really, really nice. So I'm impressed. That's the first time I've ever had 8sin, and this was an excellent experience with them. I just attached the wee NATO rail here just to show you different ways you can configure it, or put on your area mount handle. Whatever kit you can just accessorize it. Okay, right out of the box, let's just look at this cage. Simple components to it, just one singular unit cage, 2 wee screws and an Allen key wrench. Couldn't be simpler. And then you're just going to mount one screw to the bottom and one to the side. The construction of this whole thing was solid. Really, really secure, nothing rigid, flexible, and so many different mounting points on it as well. Just up in the top right hand corners there's the ability to attach straps, right and left there if you want to mount a strap just for extra protection if you're running around a bit shooting shots. Plenty of mounting holes and threads on the bottom for whatever ecosystem you want to use, whether that be 501 plates or Arca Swiss. Rather than just putting one specific one on, they've given you just a choice to mount your own plates. All the wee mounting points along the top, you've got your room for area pin locators, 1/4 inches, and area pin right at front for top handle as well. And the machining on the side is lovely, it's nice and smooth. Excellent, just excellent build. I'm really tough with that. So let's take our camera, slide her in the back there easy enough, line her up. As you see, when you just slide that in, all the ports, all the buttons are all still accessible, and it's not blocking the hot shoe. And all I have to do now is line up these screws. So I'll take my Allen key wrench, take the first screw, just put that in the bottom. Okay, that was done easy, nothing sliding, holding in the cage well, nothing shifting or moving. And all the ports, as you can see, are all accessible. The battery port, the card slot, all the doors opening fine, and then all ports to the HDMI, headphone jacks, mic, and USB-Cs. So excellently done. Now this is the HDMI. It didn't come with it, which I was a wee bit disappointed with. The other cages did, but I also wasn't happy with the actual design of it. I found it hard to mount, and because it wasn't even one piece, you had to it was very footery and finicky to get in. Yeah, and I just stumbled and struggled just to get that to actually stay, and which portholes to put it in. And even though it was wrapping around the door, it wasn't really. When you see here, I just push in the HDMI cable. It wasn't really gripping the cable, and this is what I wanted to do to protect that port also, and also so the cable doesn't come out. So I tried moving that around different ways and tightening it in and seeing if it was something I was doing wrong, and I just couldn't manage to get it to grip the HDMI cable in tightly. So every time I lifted it up just to test it to see what the weight, you'd find that the cable just could pull out, even with the clamp on it, which in my mind it should really stay there. Okay, that being said though, overall the cage is excellent. It's just that one wee thing I found a wee bit footery. So we'll just attach the XLR audio handle here, just as we did with the rest of them. Screw them in, and that's it. So you can swap on and off that handle as a single cage, which is great. Okay, the last option, and I nearly wasn't going to include this, but because it's so minimalist, it's actually worth including if you just need a bottom plate and just a wee side handle. This is an excellent, and it's also very cheap, and it works well with the way I showed you doing it with the NATO rail L bracket handle on the side as well. So that mounts on, just a wee base plate there, and down the bottom you can see there is a wee NATO rail bit to clamp on a hot shoe there, and the ports can open up fine. As you see, if you put a handle on there, it isn't flush. There are handles. I've seen one by Tilta that seems to go out and lets the camera come down a bit more, so you can have a look and see if you can find one that fits that. But I just like to see you can put handles there. It's no real biggie, but it will be tilted up, but it won't be flush, just so you know that. So one of the issues for me was trying to work out what's the sort of standardized distance between most thread holes, and it says sort of 9mm. But you can see on the side of this one, them two wee holes aren't 9mm, so this is better for a NATO rail clamp, or you can mount as an accessory to your cold shoe. So just pay attention to that, depending on what you're going to clamp onto it. So it comes with this wee extension rail that points out the top right hand corner, and it just screws on there and has a wee lip on it so it doesn't slide if you try to pull it back. You don't have to use that. If you use your own NATO rail, as I showed you earlier, you can attach your own L bracket side handle, just like there. You can put that on and then just clamp on the handle again, just like that. Okay, let's just look at fitting this here. First, let's look at the parts. As I said, there's just your bottom bracket and your top right hand corner bracket, just the one screw that comes with it, and it just mounts onto the top right hand of the camera. The base plate of it, as you see at the bottom, it's got your wee Arcus Swiss slide mount, you've got your wee hex tool, and you've got mounting points also. So the wee tightening screw will just magnetize back in there, and there's your wee side part with your two mounting parts on a cold shoe should you want to attach anything else to the side. So let's take our camera, take our wee hex screwdriver, fit that onto the bottom, line up the threads. Use your wee flat screwdriver just to tighten that in. Couldn't be any easier than that. And remember to attach that again so you don't lose it. Port doors open fine, and you've got your wee Arcus Swiss bottom and your different mounting points. You want to put a different base plate onto that. As I said, there's your cold shoe at the side there. You have two wee bits, two other mounting screws as well. When you're putting it on, just make sure it's not overlapping that bottom door. I found was a wee bit tricky. Sometimes it just doesn't quite pull out of the way, so I loosened it here and tried just to readjust it a wee bit just to get that lined up better so it wasn't blocking the ports should I want to power the camera through the USB. Now let's tighten on this top bracket, get the wee screw, wee Allen key wrench, get the right size, just tighten that on, simple. As you can see, that sits on there quite firm as long as you tighten it. There is a wee lip that hangs down there to stop it from sliding back. You could knock it forward possibly, but if you tighten it in, I find it's quite firm. And you've got different mounting points with that top bracket. So you've got mount on the side with the cold shoe. Your ports open up. Again, watch that bottom one. The bracket just is hard to open that bottom port a little bit, but still accessible. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll just slide the hot shoe into the top hot shoe on the camera. We'll thumb tighten down the wee screws, tighten them up, make sure it's nice and firm. And there you have it. Handle mounted. You've got your bottom bit. You also have the ability to mount a side handle on there if you wish. Nice and minimalist, simple. So let's take a wee side handle here by SmallRig and attached onto that. As you see, the wee NATO rail goes on. Put the wee tightener to the front so you don't block the ports. As I said, the only thing you got to worry about, it doesn't quite sit flush. You can get handles that do that, but maybe bend up a little bit. Just as another option, I put a handle on here, but you can also get a wee Tilta corner bracket, which actually goes into the top screw and the wee side screw. So if you needed another wee mounting point and keeping the XLR handle, that's an option. I'll put a cold shoe on there for you. And maybe that would have been a better design idea, I think, just for going out the side, if you wanted a wee side rail. But yeah, it's small. You can add different bits and pieces if you have different bits of rigging onto it. So as I mentioned, you can just put on your own top NATO rail, wee 100mm on there, just tighten it in. And that's another option for mounting things on too. So you've got your side handle there, which I have, but if you want to use the side handle going on to the bottom NATO rail, you can take off that. Take your L bracket, handle, the one we've cut down, and there's a wee NATO rail giving me some more mounting points on top. Just thumb tighten that NATO rail clamp. And what's nice about these L bracket side handles that attach to the top NATO rails is they sit flush on the table. So if you haven't got one of the tilted ones that possibly bend up and make it flush, this is a great solution. Okay, that's the NiceyRig option with an L bracket side handle cut down. Now let's return to the main desk for my final thoughts and summarize all this.
Okay, that's all the cages. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was helpful to see them close up. I know for me to have them for the first time all for one camera was very helpful, just to try and understand the differences between them all. As I said from the very start, I found them all very good. You wouldn't really go wrong. It's all about your use case scenario. Do you want a half cage, or do you want a bigger rig system? So you want a full cage so you can have more mounting points. It's up to you, and some of the aesthetics is up to you also. I hope this was helpful. Please could you like and subscribe if you got some value from this here, so I can make more content like this. I'm going to put a slide on at the very end. It's just a summary slide of all the different options there, and it just kind of encapsulates it all in one page. Have a great day. All the best. Bye.